The holographic displays flickered with translations in 47 languages, but Ambassador Olivia Grant didn't need them. She understood every insult perfectly. The Galactic Assembly Hall stretched before her like a vast amphitheater, filled with delegates from species that had conquered the stars while humans were still learning to make fire. She sat alone in the human delegation pod, a small transparent sphere that felt more like a fishbowl than a seat of power. The Bravak delegate raised 3 of his 6 arms in what passed for laughter among his kind. Chemical propulsion, he announced, his voice booming through translators. They still use explosions to push their vessels through space. My hatchlings play with more advanced technology. Scattered clicking and chirping filled the hall. Olivia recognized it as agreement. She kept her face neutral, fingers clasped on the smooth surface before her. High Chancellor Nethrax rose from his elevated throne. The ancient reptilian leader towered over most species present, his scales gleaming under the assembly lights. "We have heard Earth's petition for military observer status," he said, his words dripping with barely concealed contempt. "Perhaps we should consider it. After all, we need someone to serve refreshments at our strategic planning sessions." The laughter was louder this time. Olivia felt her jaw tighten, but maintained her composure. She had been a Marine intelligence officer before this assignment. She had survived worse than mockery. Ambassador Silene of Ryloth leaned forward in her pod, compound eyes fixed on Olivia. The insectoid diplomat's mandibles clicked together in amusement. "I propose we grant humanity what they truly deserve," she said. "Restricted species status. Let them travel the stars only under proper supervision. For their own safety, of course." The motion passed through the hall like wildfire. Delegates who had barely acknowledged each other suddenly found common ground in their dismissal of Earth. Olivia watched the voting display update in real time. 847 against, 12 in favor, 3 abstentions. Nethrax seemed pleased with himself. "The matter is settled. Humanity will remain under restricted species classification. They may continue their adorable attempts at space exploration, provided they register all vessels with the Galactic Transit Authority and submit to random inspections." Olivia requested permission to speak. The Chancellor granted it with a wave of his clawed hand, clearly expecting entertainment. She stood, her human form small compared to most beings present. "The people of Earth thank the Council for their consideration," she said, her voice steady. "We understand that our technology appears primitive by galactic standards. We will, of course, comply with all regulations." Nethrax nodded, already dismissing her. "See that you do." This assembly is adjourned. As delegates filed out, chattering among themselves, Olivia gathered her materials. The Ryloth ambassador paused near her pod, mandibles still clicking with amusement. "A word of advice, human," Silene said. "Your species should focus on what you do well. Perhaps entertainment or manual labor. Leave the important matters to those equipped to handle them." Olivia met the insectoid's gaze without flinching. "Thank you for the guidance, Ambassador. I'll be sure to pass it along." She made her way through the emptying hall, past groups of delegates who fell silent as she approached, then resumed their conversations once she passed. Their dismissal was complete. Humanity was beneath notice. Her quarters in the diplomatic sector were modest. One room, basic amenities, a window looking out at the vast station that housed the Galactic Council. She secured the door and activated her encrypted communication array. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Admiral Patricia Hayes, head of Earth's deep space operations. "Well?" the Admiral asked. "Rejected. Spectacularly," Olivia reported. "They've placed us under restricted species status. All our vessels need to be registered and subject to inspection." Hayes nodded slowly. "Their arrogance is remarkable." "It works in our favor," Olivia said. "They're not taking us seriously at all. Nethrax literally suggested we stick to serving drinks." "Did you maintain the profile?" "Complete harmless incompetence," Olivia confirmed. "I thanked them for their wisdom and promised full compliance." Hayes allowed herself a thin smile. "Then they have no idea about the Darwin's actual capabilities?" "None. As far as they know, Captain Vincent Hayes commands our only deep space vessel, and it's barely capable of interstellar travel. Good. Continue playing the grateful primitive. How long until they forget about us entirely? Olivia, consider the question. Based on today's session, I'd say they already have. We're a curiosity at best, an annoyance at worst. Certainly not a threat. Perfect. The timeline hasn't changed. Continue quiet preparations. Understood. Olivia paused. Admiral, they really do think we're nothing. Today proved it beyond doubt. Hayes leaned back in her chair. Then they've made their first mistake. Humans have survived on a death world for millions of years, not by being the strongest or the fastest. We survived by being underestimated right up until it was too late. I'll send my full report through secure channels. One more thing, Hayes said. The incident with the Bravak colony. What incident? Exactly. Hayes out. The screen went dark. Olivia sat in the quiet of her quarters, listening to the hum of the station's life support. Through her window, she could see ships coming and going, representing hundreds of species that considered themselves superior to humanity. She opened a file on her personal tablet. It contained names, voting records, public statements. Every delegate who had laughed today, every species that had voted against Earth, every insult cataloged and cross-referenced. Humans had a saying that the rest of the galaxy would learn soon enough. Revenge was a dish best served cold, and humanity had patience that came from evolving on a world that tried to kill them every single day. Olivia began typing her report, her fingers moving quickly across the interface. 40 years of preparation were about to pay off. The Council had made their choice. Now they would live with the consequences. Outside her window, the station's lights glittered like stars, beautiful and oblivious to the storm that was coming. The emergency session began without the usual diplomatic pleasantries. High Chancellor Nethrax's scales had lost their usual luster, and his voice carried an edge that made several delegates shift nervously in their pods. 40,000 Bravak citizens have vanished, he announced. The mining colony on Bravak 7 is completely silent. No distress calls. No emergency beacons. Nothing. Ambassador Silene's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress among her species. What are the theories? Plague? Equipment failure? The investigation team found the colony intact, Nethrax replied. Meals still on tables. Equipment running normally. Environmental systems functioning perfectly. But not a single living being remains. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Olivia sat quietly in her pod, her expression carefully neutral. She had learned to perfect the look of concerned ignorance. The Draven military representative stood, his 4 eyes scanning the room. I propose we dispatch additional security forces to investigate. This could be an unknown hostile force. Before the vote could proceed, another alert flashed across the assembly displays. A communications officer rushed to Nethrax's side, whispering urgently. The Chancellor's expression darkened. We have a second incident, Nethrax said. A Draven military outpost has ceased all communication. Initial scans show the facility is powered and operational, but there are no life signs. The murmuring grew louder. Fear had a distinctive sound, regardless of species. Olivia made a note on her tablet, her movements slow and deliberate. Within the hour, a third report arrived. A Ryloth civilian transport carrying 3,000 passengers had disappeared between star systems. The vessel's last transmission was routine traffic control acknowledgement. Then silence. Silene stood abruptly, her compound eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. This cannot be coincidence. 3 incidents in 3 weeks, all targeting different species. We are under attack. By whom? Demanded a delegate from the Korth Collective. Show me the enemy, and we will fight them. Nethrax activated a holographic display showing the locations of all 3 disappearances. Our analysts are searching for patterns. The distances between incidents suggest either multiple actors or technology capable of rapid long-range deployment. Olivia raised her hand politely. The gesture was so human, so quaint, that several delegates actually chuckled despite the tension. Yes, Ambassador Grant. Nethrax said with barely concealed irritation. Earth would like to offer our assistance with the investigation, Olivia said. Our scientists may have fresh perspectives that could prove useful. The laughter was more open this time. Silene's mandibles clicked in what might have been pity. Thank you, but I think we can handle this with species that have actual experience in galactic security matters. Of course, Olivia replied, sitting down smoothly. I apologize for the presumption. The session continued for another 4 hours. More theories emerged. Dimensional rifts, unknown plague organisms, ancient automated defense systems reactivating. Even terrorist groups were considered. No one had answers. During a brief recess, Olivia stood near the refreshment dispensers. A junior delegate from the then Confederacy approached her cautiously. Ambassador Grant, the young then, said quietly, I voted in favor of your petition, for what little it was worth. Olivia smiled warmly. Every vote matters. Thank you for your support. I wanted to ask, the delegate continued, lowering his voice. Has Earth experienced anything unusual recently? Any ships going missing? None at all, Olivia replied honestly. Our vessels are all accounted for. We maintain very strict tracking protocols given our limited fleet. The then nodded and moved away. Olivia poured herself water, noting how her hand remained perfectly steady. The session resumed with breaking news. A fourth location had gone silent during the recess. This time, it was a research station belonging to the Nexar Commonwealth. 200 scientists and support staff vanished. Nethrax pounded his fist on his console, the sound echoing through the hall. I am authorizing the deployment of the Galactic Defense Fleet. We will patrol all major systems and investigate every anomaly. The vote passed unanimously. Olivia abstained, citing Earth's restricted military status. No one questioned it. Over the following days, more disappearances occurred. A trading outpost, an agricultural colony, a military patrol squadron that simply stopped responding mid-flight. The count rose to 15 separate incidents. Over 200,000 beings were missing. Panic spread through the civilized galaxy like fire through dry grass. Trade routes shut down. Species recalled their citizens from border regions. The galactic economy began to buckle under the strain. Olivia attended every emergency session, always courteous, always offering Earth's limited assistance, always being politely declined. She watched the mighty Galactic Council fracture under pressure they couldn't identify or fight. In her quarters late one night, she reviewed reports on her encrypted channel. Captain Vincent Hayes appeared on screen, his face illuminated by the glow of his ship's instruments. The Darwin is maintaining position in the outer reaches, he reported. No one has questioned our presence here. Any issues with the operation? Olivia asked. Hayes hesitated. Some of the crew are uncomfortable with the scope. Taking entire populations is different from what we trained for. Are they safe? Olivia asked. Completely. The facilities are better than most of their original colonies. Full amenities, medical care, entertainment. They're just not free to leave. Good. Maintain protocol. How many more on the list? 8 priority targets remaining. Then we move to Phase 2. Olivia nodded. The council is starting to fracture. Fear is an excellent teacher. Any suspicion falling on us? None. We're too primitive to be considered. They're looking for advanced threats, super weapons, dimensional anomalies. The idea that humans could be responsible hasn't crossed their minds. Hayes allowed himself a slight smile. Underestimation as camouflage. The oldest human trick in the book. Hayes out. Olivia closed the connection and looked out her window. The station's lights seemed dimmer somehow, as if the fear permeating the council was affecting even the electrical systems. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, 200,000 beings were learning about Earth, about humanity's history, about what happens when you dismiss an entire species as beneath notice. The lessons were just beginning. Ambassador Silene worked alone in her private chambers, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from every disappearance. Sleep had become impossible. 23 separate incidents now. Over 1 million beings missing without a trace. She cross-referenced locations against galactic maps, searching for any pattern the Council's investigators had missed. Distance from the galactic core, proximity to trade routes, strategic value. Nothing connected them all. Then she tried something different. She pulled up voting records from the Council archives. Her compound eyes widened as the correlation became clear. Every single missing population belonged to species that had voted against humanity's petition. Her hands trembled as she checked again. 100% correlation. The Bravak delegate who had mocked human technology. The Draven military outpost commander who had publicly laughed at Earth's defense capabilities. The Ryloth transport that had carried passengers from her own homeworld, many of whom had attended the session where humanity was humiliated. Silene immediately contacted 3 other delegates she trusted. They met in a secure conference room, far from the main assembly hall. "This is insane," the then delegate said after reviewing her data. "You're suggesting humans are responsible for this?" "I'm showing you facts," Silene replied. "Draw your own conclusions." The Korth representative shook his massive head. "Humans don't have this kind of capability. We've seen their technology. Chemical rockets and primitive computing systems. Have we?" Silene challenged. "Or have we seen what they wanted us to see?" The 4th member of their group, a Valek scientist, manipulated the holographic data with practiced movements. "If we assume human involvement, we need to explain how they accomplished this. The technology required would be beyond even our most advanced civilizations. Unless they've been hiding it," Silene said quietly. "What if humanity's apparent primitiveness was deliberate?" The room fell silent. The implications were staggering. Before they could continue, news arrived of another disappearance. This time, an entire Draven colony world had gone silent. 3 million inhabitants. The Council's emergency response team arrived to find cities running normally, vehicles parked neatly, homes showing signs of recent occupation. But no people anywhere. The team found one survivor, a young Draven child who had been playing in a sealed underground bunker during the incident. The child's testimony sent shock waves through the investigation. "They came at night," the child told the investigators. "But there was no noise. My parents told me to hide. I watched through the ventilation grate." "What did you see?" the lead investigator asked gently. "Soldiers in black armor. They moved like shadows. They had devices that made everyone stop moving. Not hurt, just stop. Then they opened portals, big circles of light, and everyone walked through them like they were sleeping. Did you see their faces? No faces, just helmets. But I saw a symbol on their shoulders. It looked like the old Earth symbol from our history files, the one they used before they joined the galactic community." The investigator showed the child various insignias. The child pointed immediately to the modified United Nations emblem, with one addition. New text beneath it in perfect galactic standard script that we remember everything. The discovery sparked immediate action. High Chancellor Nethrax ordered complete surveillance of all human vessels and installations. The Galactic Intelligence Service began deep analysis of every human transmission. What they found confused them. Every human ship was accounted for. The ESS Darwin was conducting mineral surveys in the outer reaches, exactly where its flight plan indicated. Earth's other vessels were engaged in routine cargo operations or scientific research. All communications were mundane, focusing on trade negotiations and cultural exchanges that a Draven intelligence officer managed to decrypt what appeared to be secure human military communications. The messages referenced something called protocol silence, but the context was unclear. There were mentions of educational facilities, relocation procedures, and timeline adherence. Silene requested a private meeting with Olivia Grant. They met in a neutral observation lounge overlooking the station's docking bays. "I need to speak with you honestly," Silene said, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The evidence suggests human involvement in the disappearances." Olivia sipped her coffee calmly. "That's quite an accusation, Ambassador. Based on what evidence?" "The correlation between anti-human votes and targeted populations is absolute." "Correlation isn't causation," Olivia replied. "We learned that phrase from one of your own diplomats. Actually, then explain the symbol." The child's testimony. Olivia set down her cup. "I can't explain it. Earth's military consists of one deep space vessel and a handful of system patrol craft. We don't have the technology for what you're describing, unless you've been lying about your capabilities. To what end? Olivia asked. We're a restricted species. We gain nothing from deception. Silene leaned forward. I want to apologize for my behavior during your petition. I was wrong to dismiss your people so completely. Apology accepted, Olivia said. Her expression remained unreadable. Will you at least help us investigate? If humans aren't responsible, perhaps you can help us find who is. I'll submit a formal request to Earth. But I warn you, our scientists have limited experience with phenomena of this scale. Their conversation was interrupted by a station-wide alert. 3 more colonies had gone silent simultaneously. All 3 belonged to species that had voted against humanity with particular enthusiasm. Silene rushed back to the council chamber. The meeting that followed was chaos. Delegates shouted accusations at each other. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others argued for diplomatic solutions. A few suggested evacuating their populations entirely. Nethrak struggled to maintain order. We will not make accusations without proof, he declared. But I am authorizing enhanced monitoring of all human activities. If Earth is involved, we will discover it. Olivia sat quietly through the session, taking notes as always. When it finally adjourned, she returned to her quarters and activated her secure channel. They're getting close to the truth, she told Admiral Hayes. Let them, Hayes replied. Phase 1 is nearly complete anyway. Prepare for the broadcast. Olivia nodded. The council will demand answers. Then we'll give them answers. Just not the ones they're expecting. Every screen in the Galactic Assembly Hall activated simultaneously. Delegates scrambled to their pods as unauthorized broadcasts overrode all security protocols. High Chancellor Nethrax ordered communications officers to shut down the feed, but nothing worked. Whatever was controlling the transmission had complete authority over the station systems. Ambassador Olivia Grant appeared on every display. But she wasn't wearing her usual diplomatic attire. She wore dark combat fatigues with insignia that made several delegates gasp in recognition. Earth's modified United Nations emblem. The motto clearly visible beneath it that we remember everything. Members of the Galactic Council, Olivia began, her voice calm and clear. I am broadcasting this message to ensure complete transparency regarding recent events. Humanity takes full responsibility for the disappearances that have troubled you these past months. The assembly erupted. Nethrax roared for silence, but was ignored. Delegates shouted accusations, demands, and threats in dozens of languages. Olivia continued, as if she couldn't hear them. I want to assure you that every missing individual is alive and well. They have been relocated to secure educational facilities where they are learning about Earth's history, human culture, and the consequences of systematic dismissal of species deemed inferior. She gestured, and the display split to show footage. Vast facilities filled with the missing populations. Bravak miners attending lectures. Draven soldiers studying human military history. Ryloth civilians watching documentaries about Earth struggles. All of them healthy, safe, and notably free from restraints. We call this protocol silence, Olivia explained. For 40 years, since first contact, humanity has endured mockery, dismissal, and restriction. We were told to serve drinks while you made decisions affecting the entire galaxy. We were called primitives, children, barely evolved animals. You laughed at our technology while refusing to see our potential. Another gesture brought up technical schematics. Ships unlike anything in the Council's databases. Weapons systems based on principles that shouldn't exist. Stealth technology that made vessels invisible to every sensor array the galaxy possessed. While you mocked us, we were studying you, Olivia said. Every species that visited Earth shared technology, usually unintentionally. A careless engineer leaving a datapad in a restaurant. A drunk pilot bragging about ship specifications. Trade delegations assuming we were too primitive to understand the equipment they brought. We collected it all. Reverse engineered everything. Improved on most of it. The display showed more evidence. Human engineers dismantling alien technology. Scientists creating hybrid systems that combine multiple species innovations. Construction facilities hidden in asteroid fields, building ships that officially didn't exist. We built a fleet, Olivia continued. 237 vessels using gravitic drives stolen from the Korth. Quantum tunneling technology adapted from Valek's research. Shield systems that combine 17 different species innovations into something none of you could penetrate alone. We did this under your noses while you laughed at our chemical rockets. Silene stood in her pod, mandibles clicking in distress. This is an act of war. No, Olivia replied, looking directly at the Ryloth ambassador through the camera. War would involve casualties. We have killed exactly 0 beings. Everyone we took is receiving the finest care, the best food, comfortable housing, and comprehensive education. Many of them are actually grateful once they understand why they're there. She paused, letting that sink in. You see, we gave them what you never gave us. Respect through knowledge. We showed them Earth as it really is. A death world where 99% of all species that ever existed went extinct. Where humans evolved not by being the strongest or fastest, but by being smart enough to survive anyway. The displays changed again, showing Earth's history. Natural disasters, predators, diseases, conflicts. The relentless pressure that forged humanity into what it became. Every person we relocated has learned what you refuse to acknowledge, Olivia said. That dismissing a species based on their current technology is the height of foolishness. That Deathworld survivors develop traits you can't replicate in your comfortable civilizations. Adaptability, determination, the patience to plan for decades while appearing harmless. Nethrax finally regained enough composure to speak. You will release all captives immediately and surrender your illegal fleet, or we will consider this an act of war. Olivia smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Chancellor, you misunderstand your position. I'm not asking for anything. I'm telling you how things will proceed from this point forward. She held up a datapad. These are our demands. Full apology from every council member who participated in humanity's humiliation, submitted publicly and in writing. Immediate removal of all travel restrictions on human vessels. Full military observer status, retroactive to our original petition date. Reparations for 40 years of lost opportunities and enforced inferiority. And fundamental council reform to prevent majority species from crushing minority voices. And if we refuse, Nethrax demanded. Then Phase 2 begins, Olivia replied. The people we've taken so far were selected for education. They'll be returned once they understand the lessons. But if you refuse our terms, the next group won't be coming back. We'll start taking your military command staff, your political leaders, the scientists who develop your technology. We'll dismantle your civilization one critical piece at a time until you agree to negotiate in good faith. Another delegate stood. You can't fight the entire galaxy. We don't need to fight you, Olivia said. We just need to make governing impossible. How will the Draven collective function when their entire military command structure vanishes overnight? How will the Bravak maintain their mining operations when all their engineers are attending classes about respecting other species? She leaned forward, her eyes hard. You have 72 hours to provide a formal response to our demands. I recommend you use that time wisely. Debate, vote, argue among yourselves. But understand this. Humanity is done being your servants. We're done being your punchline. We're done asking politely for the respect we deserve. The screen flickered, and Olivia's final words carried across the entire station. We could have destroyed you. The technology exists. But we chose education over extermination. We chose to show you the error of your ways rather than simply removing you. Remember that when you debate how to respond, we showed you more mercy than you ever showed us. The transmission ended. Before the council could react, alarms blared throughout the station. 30 more colonies across 15 different species had gone silent in the last hour. A demonstration of capability timed perfectly for maximum impact. The 72-hour countdown had begun. Chaos consumed the Galactic Council chamber. Delegates shouted over each other in dozens of languages while translators struggled to keep pace. High Chancellor Nethrax pounded his console repeatedly, demanding order that would not come. Three distinct factions had formed within minutes of Olivia's broadcast ending. The largest group, led by Nethrax himself, demanded immediate military response. A smaller coalition urged diplomatic negotiation. The third faction, paralyzed by fear, simply wanted to evacuate their populations before humanity struck again. Ambassador Silene found herself leading the diplomatic faction almost by accident. "We must consider their restraint," she argued, her mandibles clicking rapidly. "They could have killed millions, but chose education instead. That shows a moral foundation we can work with." "It shows weakness," Nethrax countered. "They lack the stomach for real war. We mobilize the Galactic Defense Fleet and crush them before they take more of our citizens." The vote was called. Military action passed by a narrow margin. 5,000 warships, the largest armada ever assembled, received orders to mobilize toward Earth's solar system. What the Council didn't know was that human intelligence detected the fleet movement within 3 minutes of the order being issued. Olivia received the notification on her private device during the session itself. She allowed herself the smallest smile. The fleet took 2 days to fully assemble and begin its journey toward Earth. They traveled in formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers and superior technology. Admiral Karath of the Draven Navy commanded from his flagship, already planning the acceptance speech he would give after humanity's surrender. They arrived at Earth's solar system expecting a fight. What they found was emptiness. No planets orbited the sun. No stations defended the space. No ships waited in ambush. The entire solar system had vanished, leaving only Earth's star behind. But that star had changed. It pulsed with strange energy readings, broadcasting a signal across every known communication frequency. The message was simple. Humanity had moved their home system using technology the Council didn't know existed. Earth's sun now served as a quantum beacon, transmitting human demands to every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. Admiral Karath stared at the impossible readings on his displays. "Ow," he whispered. "How did they move an entire solar system?" His science officer looked pale. "The energy requirements alone should be impossible. Even with our combined civilizations working together for centuries, we couldn't accomplish this." Across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, human ships decloaked simultaneously. They appeared in orbit above every Council member's homeworld, every major population center, every military installation of significance. The ships made no aggressive moves. They simply hung there in space, visible to everyone below. Each vessel broadcast the same message. "We could have. We chose not to. Choose wisely." Then they vanished again, disappearing from sensors as completely as they had appeared. The entire demonstration lasted less than 5 minutes, but the message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing the Council could do to stop them. Nethrax recalled the fleet immediately. There was no point attacking an enemy that could relocate their entire civilization at will. The Council reconvened in emergency session, and this time the mood was very different. Fear had replaced arrogance. The delegates who had laughed at chemical rockets now faced species that could manipulate gravity, quantum states, and space itself. The crushing realization settled over them like a heavy blanket. A junior delegate from the Oral Commonwealth requested permission to speak. He was young, barely experienced in galactic politics, which made his next words carry unexpected weight. "We made a fundamental error," he said quietly. "We looked at humanity and saw reflections of ourselves. Fragile bodies, emotional responses, short lifespans. We assumed these were weaknesses. But these are the traits of predators, not prey. Predators from a death world who survive by being smarter than everything trying to kill them." He pulled up data on Earth's history. Their planet tried to destroy them constantly. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroids, superstorms, diseases that killed millions. They didn't survive by being strong. They survived by adapting faster than the threats could evolve, by learning from every disaster, by never, ever giving up. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed this perspective. Silene stood slowly. The junior delegate is correct. We dismissed humanity because they reminded us of our own vulnerable origins. We forgot that every successful species earned their place through struggle. Earth's struggles were simply worse than most. They're still terrorists, Nethrax growled, but his voice lacked conviction. Are they? Silene challenged. They took our people but kept them safe. They demonstrated overwhelming force but killed no one. They could have exterminated us all but chose to educate instead. These are not the actions of terrorists. These are the actions of teachers who lost patience with arrogant students. The debate continued through the night. Meanwhile, civilian channels across the galaxy buzzed with leaked footage from Olivia's broadcast. The public saw the evidence of human capabilities and, more importantly, human restraint. Opinion began to shift. A poll conducted across 20 major species showed surprising results. 62% of civilians believe humanity deserved the concessions they demanded. 47% thought the Council had earned this humiliation through their treatment of Earth. Only 18% supported continued military resistance. The 72-hour deadline approached rapidly. Nethrax met privately with his closest advisors, running simulation after simulation. Every scenario ended the same way. If humanity wanted to destroy galactic civilization, they could. The Council's only real choice was between negotiation and annihilation. 12 hours before the deadline, Nethrax made a secret call to Olivia's private channel. She answered immediately, her face calm. "Chancellor," she said, "I hope you're calling with good news. I want to negotiate," Nethrax said. The words clearly caused him physical pain. "But I can't surrender on behalf of the entire council. Too many factions, too much politics." "Then what are you proposing?" "Give us more time. A week to build consensus. I'll personally support your demands if you agree to return all captives immediately as a show of good faith." Olivia shook her head. "No, the deadline stands. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll give you one piece of information that might help your negotiations." "What information?" She smiled. "Most of our demonstrated capabilities were exaggerated. We can't actually move solar systems at will. We use quantum tunneling and relativistic physics to hide Earth temporarily while creating the illusion of system relocation. Our fleet is real, our stealth technology is genuine, but we're not the invincible force we appear to be. We're just very, very good at psychological warfare." Nethrax stared at her. "Why would you tell me this?" "Because true peace requires honesty eventually. We needed you to believe we were unstoppable to prevent bloodshed. But lasting cooperation requires trust. Consider this the beginning of that trust." She ended the call, leaving Nethrax with an impossible choice and 12 hours to make it. High Chancellor Nethrax sat alone in his chambers watching projections flicker across holographic displays. Every simulation showed the same conclusion. If the Council refused humanity's demands and war began, galactic civilization would collapse within months. Not from direct destruction, but from the chaos of missing leadership, broken supply chains, and populations too terrified to function normally. He had ruled for 43 years, longer than most species' natural lifespans. He had seen empires rise and fall, witnessed peace treaties and brutal conflicts. But he had never faced an enemy quite like humanity. They fought without fighting. They won before the battle began. The door chimed. Ambassador Silene entered without waiting for permission, followed by representatives from 12 other species. The coalition she had assembled overnight. "We have a proposal," Silene said, placing a datapad on his desk. "The Accord of Recognition. Full apology for past treatment of humanity. Immediate removal of all restrictions. Military observer status. Reparations calculated at fair market value for missed opportunities. And comprehensive council reform to prevent majority tyranny." Nethrax scanned the document. "This is surrender. This is survival," Silene replied. "I've been monitoring civilian channels. Public opinion has turned against us. Our own people think we deserve this. If we fight, we lose not just the war, but our legitimacy to govern. She told me something, Nethrax said quietly. Olivia Grant. She admitted that much of their demonstrated capability was psychological warfare, exaggeration, and misdirection. The coalition members exchanged glances. Does it matter? Asked the oral delegate. Real or exaggerated, they've proven they can strike us at will. They took over 1 million of our citizens without firing a shot. Whether they used quantum tunneling or actual system relocation is irrelevant to the outcome. Nethrax nodded slowly. He had reached the same conclusion hours ago. If I support this accord, my political career ends. The military faction will demand my resignation. Then resign, Silene said bluntly. But do it after signing the accord. Give us peace before you step down. 6 hours remained before the deadline when Nethrax called for a final council vote. The chamber filled quickly, delegates arriving from across the station. The tension was suffocating. Members of the Galactic Council. Nethrax began, his voice heavy with exhaustion. We face a choice that will define our civilization for generations. We can continue to assert dominance and likely face annihilation. Or we can acknowledge our errors and build something better. He displayed the accord of recognition for all to see. This document represents complete capitulation to human demands. It also represents an opportunity to correct a fundamental flaw in our governance. We have allowed majority species to dominate minority voices for too long. Humanity is simply the first to push back effectively. The military faction erupted in protest. Admiral Karath stood in his pod, all 4 eyes blazing with anger. This is cowardice. We have not even attempted to fight. Because fighting is exactly what they want us to try, Nethrax replied. They have proven they can take our people at will. They demonstrated technology we cannot match. They showed restraint when they could have chosen destruction. What more do you need to see? I need to see them bleed, Karath snarled. Then you're a fool, said a voice from the gallery. A civilian had somehow gained access to the session. Security moved to remove them, but Nethrax waved them off. Speak, he commanded. The civilian, a young Draven female, stepped forward. My parents were taken in the first wave. I just received a message from them. They're alive, well-fed, and learning things they never knew about Earth. They told me to support the accord. They said the humans showed them recordings of council sessions where we laughed at them, where we called them primitives and animals. My parents were ashamed. They said we deserved this wake-up call. More civilians emerged from various entrances. Somehow, hundreds had gained access to the chamber. Security looked to Nethrax for guidance, but he simply sat back and let them speak point one after another. They shared messages from their missing loved ones. The pattern was clear. Most of the relocated populations supported humanity's actions once they understood the full context. They had seen the mockery, studied the restrictions, learned about the systematic dismissal Earth endured for 4 decades. The vote was called. 823 in favor of the Accord of Recognition. 31 against. 8 abstentions. The military faction had collapsed in the face of overwhelming public sentiment. Within 48 hours, all missing populations were returned through the same mysterious portals that had taken them. They came back changed, not traumatized or broken, but educated and thoughtful. Many brought with them data on human history, culture, and achievements. Some species began demanding similar reforms in their own governments. The Bravok mining unions cited human labor practices as examples. The Ryloth civilian sector pushed for better representation in political decisions. The council structure began to shift almost immediately. Nethrax resigned as promised. In his final speech, he acknowledged his role in humanity's humiliation and accepted responsibility for the crisis that followed. Ambassador Silene was chosen as interim High Chancellor by unanimous vote, the first time in galactic history that had occurred. Olivia Grant attended Silene's inauguration wearing her ambassador's robes once again. The combat fatigues had served their purpose and were retired to Earth's military archives. I hope we can work together, Silene said during the reception afterward. I believe we can, Olivia replied. But humanity will remain vigilant. We've learned that respect must be maintained, not just granted. The fleet Earth built, Silene asked quietly. How much it was real? Olivia smiled. Enough. We never needed to be as powerful as you feared. We just needed you to believe we were. Months passed. Human embassies opened across the galaxy. Earth's technology, no longer hidden, became highly sought after for trade. Species that had dismissed chemical rockets now studied human innovation in other fields and found much to admire. The phrase "Remember Earth" became common shorthand for the dangers of underestimating anyone based on appearances. It appeared in military academies, diplomatic training programs, and civilian education across hundreds of worlds. 1 year after the crisis, Olivia stood in the observation deck of a human vessel in orbit above Earth, which had returned to its original location once the demonstration was complete. A young ensign approached her nervously. "Ambassador, I have a question," the ensign said. "Was it worth it? Everything we did?" Olivia looked at Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. "We taught the galaxy a lesson they'll never forget. That every species deserves respect regardless of their technology level. That Deathworld survivors are dangerous when dismissed. That humanity will not be anyone's servants. What happens now? Now we see if they actually learned the lesson. And we stay ready in case they need a reminder." The camera pulled back, revealing dozens of human ships in silent orbit. Watching, waiting, ready to defend the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Humanity had joined the galactic community on their own terms, and they would make sure it stayed that way.